Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to do the mid-year Freakout tag because it looked like a lot of fun and it gives me a chance to talk about more than one book in this video. I meant to record this last week, but I had some technical difficulties. I thought I had a working Canon camera. It does work, but it doesn't allow me to record it like a webcam. Hopefully I'll get it fixed in the future and I'll use a better camera in the future. But for today, I just want to jump right into it. The mid-year Freakout tag has about 14 questions, but I think I'm only answering 10 because I can't answer all of them. For example, I can't answer what was the best sequel I've read this year because I haven't read a sequel yet this year. But I'm very happy with my reading progress this year. I've read 21 books. That's the most I've read in the 6-month span since like 10 years ago when I was in college. I feel like I'm finally picking up my reading again. And I'm really just enjoyed a lot of the books this year. So let's just jump right into it. The first question is just simply, what is the best book that I've read so far this year? And I was worried for a couple of months because the very first book that I read, and I finished on January 3rd, was Darkness at Noon by Arthur Koestler, and that was a really good book, and I'll talk about more in the future. But I was worried because it was my favorite book for most of the year, until about the end of April, early part of May, when I finally finished Butcher's Crossing by John Williams. I'm so glad I finally picked up Butcher's Crossing. I read Stoner 10 years ago, and I read Augustus 2 years ago, and this is the final book out of his big three that I needed to get to, and I'm so glad I did. I'm normally not a fan of Westerns, but Butcher's Crossing is more than just a Western. At the very essence, I connected very deeply to this novel because it's about a young man wanting a change in his life and going out into the wilderness to do it. I always joked with my friends that, maybe one day I might do something like that. But it was, as expected with any Williams novel, the prose was beautiful. The themes were great. And again, I just felt very connected personally because I want, in a way, I think I want to do a career change at some point. I want to move as well. I want to, almost kickstart the next part of my life. I don't necessarily have to do that, a lot like the main character in Butcher's Crossing. But I loved it. So many complex characters in there that I just loved. I hated a couple of them, but I think everybody should read Butcher's Crossing. It passed Stoner and Augustus for me. But I do plan on reading those other two in the future. So yeah, Butcher's Crossing, best book so far, and it might be one of my new all-time favorites. We'll see at the end of the year if I rank it above two of my old classics that I really love. The second question is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet that you hope to get to? Well, I hate wasting money, so I really do need to read my books. This is The Adventures of Amini Al-Sarifi by Shannon Chakraborty. I heard a lot of good things about it. I meant to read it like 3 months ago. I wanted to do a little comparison with that book and Tress of the Emerald Sea, which I might talk about a little bit, because they're both seafaring novels from what I could glean from just online reviews. It was a very expensive book, so that's why I still want to read it. I've heard, again, a lot of good things, so I'm hoping to get to it later in the year. I don't know if I'll have time in July. But yeah, I really hope to get to it, just so I might be able to do a little video with that and Tress. Third question is, what is my most anticipated release in the back half of 2023? I don't have a physical copy, obviously, but I don't really keep up with a lot of new releases. I just look and watch other booktubers and I watch their TBRs, and if something sounds interesting, I go and pick it up. Or I go to the bookstore and I find something random that looks interesting as well, and I pick that up too. But I did last year back the Kickstarter from Brandon Sanderson, so I guess my answer is going to be Secret Project 3. I've only read Tress of the Emerald Sea. I haven't read Secret Project 2 yet, but I'm still looking forward to 3 because I do know that it is connected to the Cosmere, and just from looking at the cover, the mock cover, I believe, it looks really good. I'm excited to hold it in my hands. I think later in July, I believe they got all of the books on time this time around, and I should be getting it probably around July 15th, and I might put down whatever it is I'm reading at that time, and I might jump right into it, just like I did with Tress. I didn't do it with the second book, but looking forward to that one. That's really my only answer for the most anticipated release. We'll see if I catch up on any series, and I might get into one of those. The fourth question is, what is my biggest disappointment currently in 2023? Well, I hope there is no book that surpasses this in the second half. I really hope not, because I read this book. I'm really disappointed to say it, but it is On the Beach by Neville Shute. I can't believe I'm choosing a book from the 50s as my most disappointing book, but it was not at all what I expected, and it is not at all what I wanted. I picked it up because I had just finished watching and playing The Last of Us, and then I just finished reading City of Thieves, which was a little bit of inspiration for The Last of Us, and I really wanted another kind of dystopian feeling type novel, and I decided to go with On the Beach, which is almost like the originator of the genre. I think from my little bit of research, it is the first popular dystopian novel, again published I believe in 1957, and it is about survivors of the nuclear war, which obviously a lot of people were afraid about happening in the 50s. And what would the world look like after the atomic bombs went off? It had a very interesting premise. I think I read one tagline where and this is what sold me on the book originally, where there are survivors in Australia and they hear a radar signal go off in Seattle, and immediately I was like, okay, that is interesting enough to read. I want to get it, and I found this copy from, I think it's from the 60s. It's not obviously the original from the 50s, but I found it on a book auction, and I was excited to get into it. And the book is, again, nothing like that original tagline. It is unexpectedly and probably unintentionally hilarious. The novel is about what people would live like after the nuclear war, except it was just a bunch of people living their lives as normal, going about their daily lives, going grocery shopping, building baby cribs, doing their jobs, getting paid for them, and then just, the end of the world happens. It was funny, and I don't think it was supposed to be funny. It was very frustrating. I don't know how else to describe this book. I just about threw it across the room, but I didn't, because this is a vintage copy and I don't want to ruin it. But I just about threw it across the room at the ending, because all the characters are unrealistic. All the characters are very flat. And one of the characters did something that just ticked me off at the end, and I just couldn't believe it. And it was not a good experience throughout, but that last little part really disappointed me and really angered me, in all honesty. But hey, at least I remember the book. Can't say that about everything. I originally thought I was going to answer The Mountains and the Sea, but I just felt kind of mid about that book. At least with On the Beach, I felt something. But yeah, that's the most disappointing read so far, and I hope nothing else tops that. The fifth question is biggest surprise. This is one of those times where, again, I just went into Barnes & Noble and I just picked up a random book just based off the cover. I know you're not supposed to do that, but it looked really nice. And I picked up Wrath by Sharon Moalem and Daniel Kraus. Wrath is my biggest surprise, because I did not expect at all to like it. It is almost like a B-movie sci-fi novel, where it has a very silly premise. It is about a super intelligent rat that goes on a murderous rampage. It is not high literary quality stuff, but I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was very gruesome. It knew exactly what it was, and it did, and accomplished exactly what it set out to do. This whole novel was just a blast from page 1 to the very end. The characters were funny. The characters were very personal. I actually connected with them more than, again, on the beach. But I loved it. I think if you have room in October to read like a horror-influenced novel, please pick this up. It is a lot of fun. I think more people should read Wrath. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about it, maybe because of the premise, but it was gruesome. It was exhilarating. It was high-paced. It was a lot of action, and it was a lot of comedy as well. Just all around solid. I hope to read more of this writer's stuff. Sharon Mollem and Daniel Krauss. They work together. I don't know which one did most of the writing, but I'm willing to check both of them out. Just more people, please read it so I get more of his work. The next question I'm going to answer is going to be a book that made me cry. It's going to be a reread, actually. It's going to be A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I've read this 3 times now in my life, and each time I've cried. If you don't know what a Monster Calls is, it is about a young boy, 12, 13, can't remember off the top of my head, even though I've read it a couple of times. Bad memory. Is about a young boy named Connor coming to grips in terms with the fact that his mother is eventually going to die of cancer. Very tough read, very heavy subject matter. And I was originally going to teach this novel, and that's why I reread it this year. I was originally going to teach it to my students next year, but I'm changing grades, and I'm no longer teaching 7th grade. I'm going to teach 6th grade next year. And I've already come to the decision that I'm not going to teach it next year, but hopefully I will, because there are a lot of great themes. And I think really the number one that always gets me, and I always want to take this lesson with me, we as humans, when tragedy happens to someone, we tend to view that person through the lens of their tragedy, and they lose all sense of identity. And that's something that I want to avoid. And that's, such a great lesson that kids need to learn and that adults need to learn as well. So I think that's why more people should read A Monster Calls. It is beautiful. It has very simple but beautiful prose that just gets me every single time. And Connor is just an amazing and complex character for a kid that I just connect to, and I feel really like this is a very personal story. That I'm just so happy that I've read it so many times now. I'll probably read it again next year. I'll probably read it at least once a year for the next couple of years, since I might teach it. But Connor is a great character, and the monster obviously also is a great character. It's a movie as well, and the movie is just as good, I think. And I think please watch the movie too if you like Liam Neeson. But yeah, Monster Calls made me cry once again, and it will probably make me cry in the future too. On a lighter note, what is a book that made me happy? Well, City of Thieves by David Benioff. David Benioff is famous for being one of the producers and writers of A Game of Thrones, the TV show. Maybe that's a bad thing for some people. I didn't like the ending, but we're not going to talk about that now. City of Thieves is proof that he can write. I picked it up, first of all, because I heard that it was, a little bit of inspiration for The Last of Us, and I was on a kick for The Last of Us. I just finished playing it. I just finished watching it. And, City of Thieves is about 2 people living in not a post-apocalyptic world like The Last of Us, but in bombed-out Leningrad during World War II. And it's about how these 2 people need to traverse the city for a common goal, which is finding a dozen eggs to bake a cake. There's more to it than that, but that is the most simple summary I can give this book. This book made me happy because it is probably one of the funniest books I've ever read. I don't read a lot of comedies, but this book was funny. It had one of the best characters I've seen in literature. That might be my answer for favorite character so far this year as well. But it is hilarious. It is heartfelt. It has a lot of heart, a lot of great lessons in it as well. I hope to read more books like this. I know David Benioff wrote, it even says on the cover, The 25th Hour. I've heard a lot of good things about that, so I might read that too. But I'm glad I gave City of Thieves a chance. If you like comedy, if you like character-driven stories, please read this. We have two great characters who spend the majority of the novel together. So you will love them. Hopefully you'll love them as much as I did. But City of Thieves made me so happy, and I hope that more people read that too. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book that I've received or purchased? I don't receive a lot of books unless they're a gift from my fiance or my family for Christmas. And I think this is a pretty easy answer. I know a lot of people are going to choose this, but sometimes the easy answer is the best answer, and I'm not going to overcomplicate things. To me, it is Tress of the Emerald Sea. It is from the Kickstarter from Brandon Sanderson. It is Secret Project 1. Not so much of a secret anymore. It's been out for a while. But Tress, I'll just hold it up again. What's not to love about all this? So many great illustrations. I think I prefer this one over Secret Project 2 because of the color. I love green, or emerald, really. It fits very well on my shelf. I'm so glad that I got this. I'm looking forward to the next one. I've seen the mock for the covers as well, and it looks just as good. The standard edition that you can get in stores is also really good. But I am going to stick with this one because I backed the Kickstarter, and that was a little expensive, but so far, money well spent. So I'm really happy with that. Not much else to talk about because it's probably been talked about a lot, but I am very impressed with the crew at Dragon Steel, the company, right? They did an amazing job with this book, and I'm looking forward to the last two. The next one again in July. I can't remember when Secret Project 4 is coming out, but I'm sure it'll look just as good. The final question I'm going to get to today is, what do you need to read before the end of the year? As a teacher, I probably have a little bit of a different answer than most other booktubers because I actually do have to read a number of things for my job. I know I have to read an adaptation of the Odyssey and Julius Caesar, different editions that are more appropriate and easier for sixth graders. I have to read Prince and the Pauper, which I haven't read since middle school. But I'm looking forward to those three and looking forward to seeing what I can get from it and teaching it to my kids. And then there are a lot of others that I have to read that I can't remember. There's too many because I'm teaching a new grade level this year. And there are a lot of books on grammar that I have to read that I'm so excited to read. Because the previous teacher was an excellent grammarian, and I still have work to do in how I approach and teach grammar to kids. Besides all of that I have to read, there is one book that I kind of need to read for fun. I don't want to feel like I'm forced to read it, but just as a personal thing, I kind of feel like I need to, and it is The Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. And the reason why I feel like I kind of need to read it is obviously because the Netflix series is coming out, I think in January or February. I don't remember what it said. I think it just said early 2024. I'm one of those people that I have to read something before I watch it because the times that I've watched something first, there was no way I could pick up the book after that. The Expanse comes to mind, where I watched the television series first, and I can't even touch the books. And I don't want that to happen with the Three Body Problem. I've heard too many great things about this. Even though I'm not normally a fan of modern sci-fi, I really do think that this book will kind of open me up to more modern sci-fi, and I just really am looking forward to it. The trailer made it look really cool, and every time someone has tried to explain it, I'm like, ooh, that sounds like something I might enjoy. I'm not going to try to explain it right now because I haven't read it yet. And it is, from what I've heard, very complicated. So I'm really looking forward to it. I started it the other day, and I hope to finish it in July. I might, even though I have a problem finishing series, I'm going to push myself to finish the whole trilogy. That's going to be what I try. That's going to be one of my major goals for this year, actually finish a series. But that's the final question that I can answer right now. I'm getting ready to go on a trip, so I need to edit this and upload it before I leave in about like 3 hours. But thank you for watching. If you've read any of these books, please let me know how you felt about them as well. I'm hoping that the second half of 2023 goes just as well as the first half. I hope to read another 21 books. We'll see if I do. Right now it's the summer. Normally November and December are really slow months for reading for me. But yeah, I will see you in about 10 days, hopefully, unless this is the future and I've already uploaded a lot of videos. But thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.